Round here, them guns get the last word.
Bob is a character with a short history, only being playable in Tekken 6, 7, and 8 canonically, Tag 2 uncanonically. This character has the least amount of interactions in the entirety of the franchise by only having one canonical interaction with a character that he accidentally stumbled across. Bob is a very cool character, but he is so detached from the world of Tekken, he operates in his own bubble. But Tekken 8 is doing its best to burst that bubble and interject him into the larger world. Bob is a character who at the start was largely compared to Street Fighter's Rufus. Both of those characters were very similar in being that they're both American, they're both big body, and they're very, very agile. Now that's where the similarities stop because the personalities are very different. Rufus was very loud, obnoxious, and described as impatient, where Bob was more calm, serious, and focused. At a young age, Bob was a martial arts master, but then he vanished without a trace. He later returned many years later after undergoing a special training regimen, that being one that focused on power, speed, and weight. He wanted to be a big body, move fast, and have a lot of power, and he accomplished that. When he returned to the scene with his new body, he received a lot of criticism. It was harsh. But after him performing in the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6, they were astonished by what he was able to achieve. Bob's name and his persona grew bigger. And on the way to Tekken 7 tournament, he stumbled across commotion in the streets. Explosions and screaming can be heard in the distance. Evil aura sensed ahead. Bob moved forward. Lingering in the smoke was Bryan Fury. Bob, seeing himself as a hero-like figure as displayed in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, he couldn't just sit by and let Bryan Fury cause chaos. So these two faced head-to-head, one-on-one. While fighting though, Bob did a slam down on Bryan Fury, and that slam caused the building and the road to collapse in on itself. Now, Bryan being a cyborg, he was able to shrug it off and continue on with his day, whereas Bob was not. He was heavily injured and hospitalized. Now, while at the hospital, he had to eat hospital food, and this was such a bad experience for him to where he would dream about better food. He would dream of a recipe, and once released from the hospital, that recipe manifested into a real food chain. It was a huge success. A lot of people loved it, and it started his career in the business industry. His latest invention, the onigiri, was so popular, this made his name and his business even more popular. At the beginning of his story, he started off as just a fighter with a lot of heart, but throughout his journey, he transcended and became a person who was known throughout the world. He went viral on the internet and was known as the Onigiri Warrior. He went viral on the internet and they dubbed him the Onigiri Savior. When Kazuya started his war in Tekken 8 and started destroying New York City, a lot of people was left without a home and left without food. This is where Bob stepped in to help out people with food banks, and this really won him a lot of favor in the community. So much so to where with his skills and his reputation, Manhattan's detective agency reached out to him and gave him a job, and now he's a DA agent with a lot of power and a lot of respect. The game describes it as Bob reaching a level of unexpected prestige, and with that newfound power, he sets his sights on the person who's causing all the chaos. This being Kazuya Mishima. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please remember to subscribe and also turn on notifications. But let's continue with the breakdown. Now, as we know, Kazuya went on to fight Jin Kazama. These two warred all over New York, then left and went to Italy, warred there, and then left and went to the island of Yakushima. And at the end of it all, Kazuya was depowered by Jin Kazama, and his unconscious body was discovered by Jin Kazama. It is unknown whether or not Kazuya will continue his villainy once he comes to, or will Jin Kazama put him on the right path. Players are wondering whether or not this will be the beginning of some type of relationship, some type of friendly relationship between Jin and Kazuya, seeing as how they have bigger threats lurking. Heihachi's return, Devil Reina's emergence. The story of Tekken on the Mishima side of things is getting really crazy. So with Bob setting his sights on Kazuya, but then Jin doing everything for him, Will he be able to refocus his efforts on something else, or will the war against Kazuya and the Mishimas continue and he aids Jin in some other way? Maybe he does a lot of detective work, puts some pieces together, and then comes with a plan that way. Only time will tell what Bob's true goals will be, because everything that they've given us for Tekken 8 is just kind of like laying up the foundations, trying to make him more involved in the story, trying to beef up his reputation a little bit so the character can actually feel like he's doing something, he's accomplishing something, he's moving forward. One critique of Tekken characters is that they are very stagnant and they don't get that much progression. But as you see with Bob, they progressed him a lot. He accomplished so much during the span of Tekken 7 and Tekken 8. So over the course of 6 months, he goes from a low-level fighter to a world-renowned chef, but also detective. And he's setting his sights on bigger things by challenging the Mishimas.